Hey, this is Chris Okowski, and going to be talking about anxiety and divorce. Um, I've been divorced, I've been remarried, and I was married for 20 years. Kristen, my wife, she was married 20 years. We're both formally divorced, and, and it was hard for both of us. We didn't feel right about it, but God was, led that way, and and we're so thankful that God has brought us together. I never thought I'd be remarried. Neither did she. That never was our intent. But God had a different purpose, plan for our lives. Um, we can theorize all we want. Um, I made mistakes in my past marriage. Um, there was probably a lot of mistakes. Like we all make mistakes. I think the biggest thing that we've come away from this was, of anything, is the fact that we need Christ. We need the Holy Spirit. We need God in in our marriage, point blank. And that's above everything. That's what God, Jesus was talking about. Is that when two are together, we're not supposed to separate. We're not supposed to be to break apart. But what happens is when when you're in your flesh, when you are becoming selfish, when Satan gets a foothold, that's probably the best way to put it, because of sin, because of past hurts, past pains, present hurts, present pain, things start getting in the way, and Satan gets a foothold. Um, uh, that's what happens is that when we're angry or we don't deal with things, Satan's able to get their foot in the doorway, and he gets in the way of the relationship. And if you don't deal with that, what's happened both me and Kristen is that you become you start separated, more and more separated, and it gets to be very unhealthy. It's unhealthy where it gets to be abusive and damaging. That's both happened to both of us, um, and so um, it, and it's never it was never meant to be that way. Not Christian or Christian. It was never meant to be that way. It's supposed to be bonding, and when you bond, it's for life, and you don't um, stay mad at the person. You don't stay separate from the person. I think part of it is because of the fact that we've become a society of freedom, freedom in a bad way, meaning that we feel like we can be free to do whatever we want. And one of the ways that we abuse this freedom that we have, that we think we have, is we think that we have the right to be free with our sex, be able to have sex with whoever we want to, and we're lied to is that, well, as young people you have hormones, and you can do whatever you want. There's consequences to that. There's consequences to the fornication, meaning sex before marriage, and what that does is it breaks down the natural ties and the good ties that you should have when you get married. But when you form those ties that when you're not married, and when they're not unhealthy, when they're not godly, they get tied to something that's destructive. When they get tied into something destructive and you rip it around and you tear it up and it gets shredded, basically what happens is that it, it leaves a bond that's a bonding, this bonding that's that's supposed to be pure and strong, and it makes it very frail, and very damaged. So I think that's where a lot of it happens in a lot of marriages. Um, is they come together and they've had past hurts, past pains in their in the sexual realm, and then when they come together, it's the bond cannot be it's very insecure. So you need a lot of work in the Lord. Um, that's why I talk about in my yesterday I talked about singleness and how important premarital counseling is, especially if you're not a virgin. that divorce is more prevalent because of the fact that you have this marriage now that you don't very small tie, very very weak tie. Okay, and you have the Lord can bond it and make it strong, but if it's not there, if you don't have a strong tie in the Lord and stuff, all it takes is a little bit where you start questioning God, you start questioning the relationship, and it's gone. And to bring it back together is very hard. You need the Lord big time. And if one or both are with the Lord, it's almost nearly impossible to bring it back together. Um, that's why you see a lot of divorces. I really believe that. I think the most reason why you have divorces, well, part of it is they, part of it is because we live in a society that's we can we have so many choices, and one of the big choices we have is we can do things on our own. Back, in the 1800s or earlier even, you didn't have that freedom because you needed another person to do something. You needed a community, and if you're married, that meant that you had to work together to survive. So that was a big um, uh, reason why you didn't get divorced. I mean, it was like I'm married and I have to stay married because otherwise I won't make it. And so that was a big something that really caused people to stay married, um, good or bad or whatever, But it was good in the sense that it kept you married and probably kept you accountable. It always probably wasn't always healthy. It's just that it meant people stayed married. And the other thing is that like I said, now these days you get that choice. You can say I can get divorced because I can I can live on my own. And both people say, yeah, I can live on my own too. Okay, you go your way, I go my way. Some marriages are like that, and they're not even divorced. The guy does one thing, and the woman does her own thing, and they say, well, but we're married. We see each other every once a week, once a month. So I mean, that's not Christian. It's not bonding, and that's a whole other subject because that's more about marriage. And if you need help, direction in that for marriage or anything, just contact here Kristen and through uh, my YouTube channel here or on Facebook, and it will help you. I know God can help. Not saying that it'll work out. I mean, we know somebody that we tried to help, but I had a pretty good feeling that it wasn't going to work out because the other person was not at a place, wasn't with God. If both people are with God, that's a good thing. I think there's a lot of hope. Um, but if there's only one, it makes it a lot harder. And not to say it's impossible. I mean, it's definitely there's ways to work through it and stuff. And so everything's possible with God. It's just that it's a little more challenging and it's more. Um, there's a lot more unsureness of it because of the fact that God can't make people change their mind. And so if you got two people who go to the Lord, then He can change their minds because the Lord is they want their minds to be changed. They're wanting the Lord, so then there's some opportunity there. But if one doesn't want to be with the Lord or isn't with the Lord, then then you're it's out of our control because that person is free to do whatever they want. And so the Lord that they choose not to do what the Lord wants. So but the Lord still can change things. So there still is opportunity, and God still can work. So and I know that, and I believe that because I know there's a person that we want to help. I'm hoping we can help us, and I know that it's possible to help in every situation because God knows ahead of time we're going to be in these situations, and He's knows a plan. If you're with an unmarried person, I'm sorry, if you're with an unsaved person or somebody that's not with the Lord, and you're with the Lord and you want to seek the Lord, and you're like having a lot of troubles, there's solutions to that. I don't know them right off the top of my head because of the fact I don't know your situation, and God is talking to you specifically. And there's ways that that God can provide for you specifically, and He can help you specifically. He helped the woman at the well. He helped the woman. He helped. He changed Nebuchadnezzar's mind, um, and he was able. Joseph was able to. Daniel was able to win the favor of different people. King Xerxes, Xerxes with the lion's den and stuff. It was a miracle, but he's able to do it. It's just that we have to find out what God's plan is, and that's a big part of it. And so he has to work in our hearts too, because he's called to this for whatever reason. He's the circumstance came up to this scenario. He knew it was going to happen, and so you just have to figure out what it is. Same thing with divorce. So if you're divorced, he knows you're going to get divorced. He knew it. He knew ahead of time. So don't be surprised. Don't be like, oh my gosh, now what am I going to do? Now I'm on God's second best. You are not in God's second best, because he knew this was going to happen. He knew you were going to get divorced. He knew I was going to get divorced. He knew Kristen was going to get divorced. He knew everything. So how can it not be the second best? Because he had a plan from the beginning. Before you were born, he had a plan for your life. We were just reading in Jeremiah that he knew Jeremiah before he was formed in the womb. He called him to be a prophet before he was formed in the womb. He was a prophet before he was born, because he knew what the plan was for Jeremiah. He knew his choices. He knew what was going to happen, and he knew how to direct it and get him to that place. So he knows what you need for your life and what's important for you. So God knew you're going to get divorced, and he's going to use that. Okay? Don't try to understand it. Don't try to understand it. I don't understand it. Okay? I just trust God and say, God, okay, you're going to use this, and it's for my best. This whole scenario is for my best. I don't understand it. Not my will be done, but your will be done. And you work it out for your glory and for my good. Okay? And he will. Okay? He's going to use this. He wants to use this, and he can use it, and he's going to. So, because we know this, we don't get wrapped up in all the guilt and the condemnation. You ask God for what you did wrong, and what in you that probably needs to be worked, healed and changed and everything by God, not by you, not by you. That's another lie that people get. Well, what was your part in the marriage? So, and recognize what you did wrong and make sure it's changed. No, that's not how it works. You ask God to search your heart and say, these are the things that went wrong in my marriage. What was my part, and why? Why did I do the things I did? And you find out what in you is broken that caused this. Because you are broken, and because you're broken, you act wrongly. And part of the reason why we act wrongly is because we don't go to God. Say, God, please help me, direct me, show me, so I can do what I'm supposed to do. And part of it is love your spouse, and minister to them and be godly for them, be God for them, be Jesus for them. And that's not always. I mean, that doesn't mean that you're going to stay married. It just means that you're a more godly person, and you're going to get more out of it, and you're going to be much more free in it. Okay, and you're going to be able to get closer to the Lord through it all. And that's the best thing about it. I mean, I got very close to the Lord through my struggle with when I was going through my in my marriage. I mean, it was actually a good thing. I look back on it, I'm like, man, that actually was really good to really search for God and cry out to the Lord during those times when I was not understanding what was going on, and frustration, and not having a good relationship with my wife back then, but I really strengthened, and I was pushing into the Lord big time. And that was a good thing. And now I wish I knew more about it, what I know now, because I could have really been free, even be more freed up. But God has a plan. God, in his knowledge and wisdom and processes, in his timing. So, and that's okay, because he doesn't look at what you did wrong. He looks at your heart. So if you're seeking him and you're crying out to him, that's what he looks at, and that's what he wants. He wants your relationship. He wants your heart. He wants you to be humble to him. He's not looking at the results. He's not saying, "Oh, look, see, you did all these bad things." I mean, definitely, the Bible says that he looks at what you did and what you did do, but he looks at it compared to where which because he also says, who has been given much, he expects much. So that has to do with your heart. So he looks at what you did, then he looks at your heart, and he says, now how how I'm going to judge this based on the whole picture, your heart, your mind, your soul, your strength, everything. Okay, and if you have the Lord and you're seeking the Lord, then all your sins are wiped away, and then you go through the fire, and then He sees all the times you go to Him. He sees all the times that you allow Him to change you and heal you. That's what He sees. That's why our sins are wiped away. It's not because of the fact that, well, He's just such a loving God that He just doesn't want to see the bad stuff, or just says, oh, He just gives grace to you, and He just wants to say, oh, it's okay, it's no big deal. It's a big deal. Sin is a big deal. He People got killed because they sinned. It's in the Bible. I mean, the whole flood was because people were so wicked. That's how bad sin is. Okay, people die. Oh, you've sinned that much. You're not coming to me. You die. Strike you dead. Yeah. Why? But He doesn't do that anymore because He's so loving. He doesn't do that anymore because He's doing something different. Doesn't mean that He shouldn't kill you. Like, Chris, you're being a little harsh because that is God. God hasn't changed. He's just doing something different. He still could kill you if He wants to. He can do whatever He wants. And sin is bad. Okay? And so it's just important to realize that we are in a place where we need to take things seriously, but that God is very graceful and He wants to work with you and He wants to help you. But if you don't want His help, if you don't ask for His help, then you're in big trouble. And that's not a good place. I mean, these days, boy, it'd probably be better if we got more reprimanded for sin because part of the reason why there's so much evil, people get away with it. You think, okay, you give you this example. Is how many do you think there's gonna be more speeders if there is more cops pulling people over, or do you think there's gonna be more speeders if nobody gets pulled over? There's more speeders if nobody gets pulled over, right? Exactly. See? So if people don't get punished, there's more lawlessness. And that's why there's so much evil. It's because God is not reprimanding people. He's letting evil reign and letting people do bad things and stuff. And people says, well, why doesn't He intervene anymore? Because He's got grace. He's letting people off the hook so that they can come to Him. But also, it's showing people how bad sin is, and how much being without God, how bad it is. And people say, "Oh, God should step in." Oh. I'm like, you can't have it both ways. You can't want God to step in, and yet don't want God. Either you want Him or you don't. And obviously, from what I've seen, people don't want God in America right now. Oh, we don't need God. Okay, we don't need God, and see how bad it gets, how much evil there is, how much destruction there is. That's because there's not much God. There's a correlation there. It's just like anything with laws or anything. You start taking away the laws and the police and everything, and there's lawlessness, and it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. And so that's why when we look at divorce, it's a bad thing, but God can redeem it. God can show you that He can heal it. He can direct it. He can heal you from those things and look forward to say, okay, God, now that you're healing me and stuff, and I can start looking at myself and saying, okay, God, you show me. I want to be directed by you now. I want to be whole before you. That's where we need to be so that we can be whole in our singleness. We can be whole after divorce. We can be whole even if God starts calling us to a new marriage. But it's all about being connected with the Lord and renewing our relationship with Him stronger than ever, because that's what He needs, and that's what we need, and that's what He wants us to have, and that's what that's the best thing for us. So that's where we anxiety and divorce is by not getting all condemned about it, but being practical and saying, God, I screwed up. I'm not going to fix it, but you can. You can heal me. You can um, cause me, change my heart, change my thinking, change my, everything about me. Create in me a clean heart, it says, oh God. Paul, David wrote that in the Psalms. Clean me up. He can do that. He can clean us all up, change our hearts, because we see now the detriment of not having cleaned up, and we can see how wretched that can be in a bad marriage. Okay, and it just pushes us more towards being with the Lord, and we can be so whole with it, and we can recognize how great it is to be with the Lord now. That's the good thing. That's why everything God um, use for his good, because even divorce can point us to Christ and give us a strong relationship with Christ, and that's a good thing. And he can use that now by doing that, by seeking him even stronger than ever before. That's how you have freedom in after divorce is by going to Christ, like everything else. And you don't have to be anxious about it because the thing is, God's got it covered now. He can forgive you. He can change you. He can heal you, and he can take care of your ex spouse. He will, and that's not your job. That's God's job. Okay, and so no condemnation in Jesus Christ. It's all about just being healed by God and being forgiven and move forward, and not being bitter. Well, that's the other thing I should quickly say. Don't be bitter. Don't. You're gonna need to forgive. They always say, the forgiveness is for you, not them. So you need to forgive them, and God can heal you and show you how you can do that. Cry out to Him, God, help me forgive this person. I don't know how to do it, and He can help you with that. And if you need help, just call. Like I said, um, message us um, on YouTube here or Facebook, and we'll help you through that process too, because it's probably a little bit more harder than just talk about it on YouTube on how to um, get out of business or help to forgive, because sometimes it can be challenging, and there's probably some things that are in your past that needs to be broken. But just ask God. God can reveal it to you. God can help you get to the point where you can just forgive that person and let them go, and they can go their way, and you go your way, and both get to the Lord